Hey, host team. Happy week before Memorial Day weekend. Did you get a 3-day weekend? Isn't that exciting? Oh, I love it. So, with that being said, there are going to be some people that are going to be out this weekend. So, if you're one of those people, please hit the decline button on the email so that we know how to prepare. And if you're one that's going to hit that accept button, I have a favor to ask. Is there any way you would consider serving one extra service this weekend so that every single person has an excellent experience, just like they would if everyone was there? This goes back to giving up things we love for things we love even more, which is seeing people become fully devoted followers of Christ. So, guys, just think about that, and I'm gonna ask you to hit that accept button and possibly take on a second service. With that being said, I just want to tell you, this past weekend, I met with my accountability partner. If you don't have one, get one. They are so awesome. And we were talking about agreements. And I don't know if you've ever heard of this term before or not. You might have. You might have heard it from a different way, like believing the lies or, something like that. Um, and basically, what it is when you have like a blanket statement. A lot of times that's the red flag that says, hey, this is an agreement, to where you believe it and you see it as part of yourself. So, an example, Craig did a sermon a couple years ago where he told Amy he wasn't looking forward to this trip that he was taking. And she was like, why? And he said, well, it's just because I'm a bad traveler. And she was like, well, are you a bad traveler? Or is that just an agreement you've made with yourself that you are a bad traveler? And he was like, oh. So then he had to look at himself and realize he's not a bad traveler. He just agreed that he was a bad traveler. And that way he could justify anytime anything went wrong or he didn't like sitting on a plane for as long as he did or all the things. And so that was a moment where he broke that agreement. And ever since then, he has seen himself as a good traveler. So that leads me to where I've been the last couple of years. I don't know about you, but I've made some really big agreements. One of them would be, well, I couldn't have been that great of a wife, or else, my marriage wouldn't have fallen apart. Or if I was a better mother, my kids wouldn't do blah, blah, blah. Or, if I would be better at this, then this wouldn't have happened. And a lot of times, it's just heaping guilt on us, and it's not even merited. And that's just the enemy's way of keeping us down and keeping us from that greater good and diminishing it. Whereas this could be so much more if it wasn't diminished with this agreement. So this is what I want to ask you. What agreements have you made that go against the greater good of what Jesus is trying to do with you, through you, and for you? What is diminishing that? What thoughts do you have? Because I got to tell you, I learned something a few years ago that blew my mind. Just because I think it doesn't mean that it's truth. What? And so I have to weigh that truth. I have to weigh my thought with truth and see what God's greater good is. And so I just want to encourage you. Look at the truth in your life and weigh it. Weigh it against agreements that you've made, especially if you've made any kind of blanket statement about yourself. And see, is it true? Is it helpful? Does it build the greater good of what God's doing in your life? All right, guys, I'm going to leave you with that. And whoever finds God finds life.